And we go to his class, and he goes, one time when I was in high school, I thought I was gay for a minute. We like, what? And he goes, yeah, I went to a party with my girlfriend, and I saw this guy that, like, I was kind of friends with, that I, like, kind of knew, but we weren't close. And I looked at him, and I was like, he looks really good. And then I was like, am I into him? Am I into him like that? And he sat there and thought about it, and he was like, no, I'm not. You done clapping?
Yeah, bro.
Okay, welcome back to the pod. This is Walking the Fine Line pod.
We are walking the fine line.
I like how you just wave. Just wave.
Why can't I do double wave? I think it's fun.
For audio listeners, she's double waving.
Oh, my apologies. I forget.
Just forget.
You know what?
That they
when
exist.
You have two recording devices in front of you, you forget that you're doing this also just for sound too. Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm back too. There you go.
Yes. Okay. So, last week, when we were coming up with ideas for this week, Emily was like, people are going to be going back to school around this time.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, just in California, probably, because most people start in August everywhere else, I feel. But here.
Yeah, that's true. My niece and nephew,
yes.
we're recording. Today is August 20th, Friday, August 20th.
So people everywhere else are starting school right now, but when this goes up,
I remember thinking it was mid-September because I was like,
yes.
School will be starting in California, but it'll be like homecoming time where I'm from. Like with my family,
yes.
My niece and nephew will be their homecoming.
Same in my hometown, which is not here.
I'm in my hometown, so I'm lucky enough to get to experience that again.
Yeah.
Yay.
So Emily was like, we should talk about homecoming things. And I was like, fun. So now we're going to talk about back to school from college and high school, which honestly, it's really weird that just think about this for a second. We started high school 11 years ago.
Why are you doing this to me? I feel attacked. I don't like it.
And we started college 7 years ago.
I was going to say 2014, so yeah, about 7 years ago. Yeah.
Fun. So that means that our high school reunions are in 3 years.
You know what? My school tried to have a 5-year.
Wow.
That's a great question. I didn't go. I could have gone. I could have come to town to do it, but the invite was like on Facebook and it said something about bring your significant other and your children. And I was like, I don't have one of either. I don't feel like I have a lot in common with any of you. And I feel like 5 years is just way too soon to do this.
If there is one, I won't know because I don't talk to anybody from my school. So.
But you still have them on Facebook, don't you?
I do.
See, that's where they sent the invite, was on Facebook. They made a Facebook event. If you had told me when I was a freshman in high school that our reunions would be scheduled on a Facebook event, I would have been like, no.
Fair.
But here we are.
So anyways, how was back to school in high school?
For me?
Yeah.
You know what? I always was super excited, but I had so much anxiety and I didn't know to call it anxiety at the time. So, I mean, it was okay. It was good. I remember one of the fun things, my mom used to try and, encourage us to give back to the community. Even when we didn't have a lot of money, even when things were, tight, we still were, encouraged to do what we could for those around us.
Well, that's nice.
I thought so. My mom was always super caring and giving, and, she always thought that she always had that mindset of, we'll always have enough. As long as we have the mindset we're always going to have enough, we'll be good.
Yeah.
So, one of
That's
the things
fair.
that we would do was my mom would give us, a spending budget, and, my dad would pitch in. They were divorced at the time, so, my dad would pitch in so much, my mom would pitch in so much, and, my brother and I had to make the decision, do we want to spend all of it, or do we want to hold a part of it, a percentage of it, and use that money to give back to the community?
Yeah.
That was always our choice. And we always said yes, because my brother and I were taught that from, a super young age, that it was good to give back. So one of the things we did that I really loved doing was we would go, I don't know, Meijer, Walmart. There was a Kmart back then. I used to love Kmart back in the day. I feel like I'm one of the only people. But we'd go there and,
We didn't go there.
No.
Never.
You know what?
I don't,
They had good
honestly,
stuff.
I don't know if there are Kmart's in Colorado. There probably are, and I just don't remember. But
Oh, I think they all closed down. Because I remember the one in this town closed down a long time ago. But anyways, we would go someplace, but we would, like, each of us would pick out a backpack. Like, my brother would do a boy and I would do a girl. And we'd fill it with, like, school supplies, like markers and crayons and, notebooks and folders and just anything you could think of that was, like, school-related. Which is why we try to go to places that had sales or, like, were a little bit cheaper so we could afford more stuff. And then we would take it down to either, like, the homeless shelter or the women's shelter and donate it so that we could give back. So, like, each of us were giving back to one other person, making sure one other kid had enough school supplies to start school.
Yeah. The interesting thing about my school was that we had kids who were... I don't really know, like, fully. I don't know if I believe this to a certain extent. But they said our school was said to give scholarships, but we were supposedly had students who were homeless all the way up to the richest of kids. I swear to God.
You and I came from two very different towns.
Yeah.
Two very different towns.
I went to the not first, but one of the first schools that was built in the city, and I lived in the capital of Colorado, so
Yeah. I feel like the majority of the kids who I went to school with, we were all kind of in the same tax bracket, so to speak. There was a couple kids whose parents could afford to buy them, like, Hummers for their 16th birthday, but honestly, it was, like, 2 or 3 families, and everyone else didn't have that kind of money.
I like how you said Hummers.
Yeah, I don't remember there being that many, like, gorgeous new cars in the parking lot. It was mainly, like, the Hummer, and that was one family, and I think maybe their dad worked in healthcare or something. They were really cool kids, but, like, they had the kind of money that, like, none of us had ever seen before. My school was, like, literally in the middle of, like, farmland. Like, we very much were, like, more of a, I don't know, kids drove, like, beat-up old trucks to school. Like, one of my first cars was, like, $2,000. My dad bought it for me, and I was considered lucky.
Yeah, so, my school was weird because of the variation. Obviously, living in the city, there are so many different incomes. Mm-hmm. But then, like, I lived across the street from, everything. The museum, whatever. But it sucked for it sucked for, like, the students who, like, it wasn't like we got unlimited amounts of money to go do things for lunch, And that's the other thing. My school was so old that we didn't have enough room for anyone for them to be like, oh, only seniors can go out to lunch. Everyone was allowed to go out to lunch.
You and I have talked about this before. Nobody went out to lunch. We were all stuck on campus the entire day.
Yeah. Well, and then, but this is the funny part, which I don't think I've ever told you this before. So, like, people who needed to go to the lunchroom went to the lunchroom and stuff like that. But there was actually, I kid you not, a velvet rope cutoff section in the cafeteria for people who had detention.
What?
Yeah, and they just sat in there, and it was the funniest thing
We just went
ever.
to a different room if we had detention. Not that I ever had detention.
Well,
but...
I mean, if you had detention for lunch, like, they would say you can't go out to lunch, so they'd have to sit in the cafeteria in the velvet rope, so we knew that they were in detention, and we weren't allowed to talk to them, they weren't allowed to do anything. They had to get their food and go and sit behind the velvet rope.
I'm not sure that's not okay. Like, I feel like that's, like, putting it on display that they're in trouble. Like, that seems a little harsh.
It was 2010. And to 2014. Things were very different than they are now. That type of stuff flied. For sure.
Oh my god.
But do you know one big difference from my school to yours, which we talk about all the time too, and we've talked to our other friends about this, was our schedules.
Yeah, no, you and I
First of all, you had no classes to choose from.
No.
I had too many to choose from. But then also, I would end up with a schedule where I would come back from lunch, have to go with a 5-minute passing period up to the 4th floor. Yes, you had 4 floors in a basement. And and a lot of stuff. And then I would have to go to the 1st floor, and then I'd have another class back on the 4th floor. And they're like, 5-minute passing period, and if you're late, guess what? The teacher's locking you out, and it just sucks. Like... Oops. And we had, almost 3,000 kids in the school. With the school that was built in the early 1900s. So it didn't have enough space, really, for that many kids in it. Each classroom, for the most part, minus, like, AP classes, because But a lot of people didn't want to take the AP classes, if I'm being honest. But besides the AP classes, each class had so many people in it that there were times where students were gone and all the seats were filled.
Yeah, no, we had like 5 classes a day, plus a lunch period, and our school was on one floor.
Your classes were very long, though. I don't like that.
They were long classes, but we were on trimesters at the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't know how it all worked, honestly, but I do remember thinking that 5 minutes was also not enough time for us to get through to our classes, but we only had one floor. But it's because we were built for like the baby boomers. So we had 900 kids in a school that probably was only supposed to have like 600. So can you imagine like the main hallways? Like it was literally everyone's walking like a step per second. Like,
oh yeah,
1, 2, like trying to get to their next class. And then sometimes...
Do you know what? See, I was short though, so I used it to my advantage because all the tall people, I just slid right under their arms because they're holding their books, so their elbows are up, and I could slide in between people. And my friends would hold on to my backpack. I'm so serious. My friends would hold on to my backpack, and I would walk really fast. And that's how we'd get to class.
I would purposely, like, wait to the last moment and then run down the hallways if I had to.
I would never make it. I would die.
That's because you had so many floors. We didn't have that. Like I said, we only had one floor.
So, you made a comment when we were planning this episode about how I organized my stuff in high school.
Milan, you're OCD now. I can only imagine Milan with more energy when she was young. Like,
okay, well, here was the thing, is that certain classes, oftentimes science classes and math classes, didn't allow you to share notebooks or binders with other classes, right? So, I just decided that wasn't a thing at your school.
Why were they looking over your shoulder to care? Like,
we had to turn in our binders sometimes because of, like, they would grade our notes and things.
That's odd. Okay, cool. Move on.
Anyways.
Moving on.
So, it started to stress me out that, like, I had some binders that were sharing and some that didn't. Mm-hmm. So, pretty much every year of high school, I think I didn't do this freshman year, and I kind of kept it in college, too. I had a binder, a notebook, and a folder for every class, and they were all the same color per class. Like, you know, and I picked my favorite color from my favorite class, and my least favorite color from my least favorite class. And I also had 7 classes, right? A day.
You just
minus Wednesday and Thursday.
That's not right, because, like, math is red. And,
no.
like, science is green. Like, that's just how it is.
Except for I don't like using those basic colors, so I'd pick fun colors. And then I also had a homework binder, because they'd give us loose leaves, and I was like, I don't want to take all the stuff, so I'm just taking the homework binder, and then a notebook if I need it. And that's how I'd take things home.
Could you carry backpacks, though?
Yeah, we could bring backpacks. I mean, we had a 5-minute passing period, and our lockers were by our 4th period class, which was not going to be near any of the classes some of the times, seeing as how half of our staircases only went to certain floors.
Dana, you've told me about that. I can't even, keep it straight.
Yeah. It bummed me out a lot, and then I switched to the college that we went to, and it was tiny.
Yeah, no, our college was pretty damn small.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, okay, for reference, so I had, 900 people in my school. I had a graduating class of about 150. Our graduating class at college was only, 60, give or take. So it was a lot closer to the atmosphere of my high school, and I think I would have had a panic attack had I tried to go to, a big university, because I just never was exposed to, that many people.
So do you know what's crazy is my elementary school, I went to a K through 8. So the class, there was a lot of kids there were a lot of kids, but there weren't. We knew everybody. Mm-hmm. So I was used to a very small school as well. But then I went to a different middle school in 8th grade, and that was quite large. And then I went to high school. And your graduating class was 150, mine was 500.
Yeah, no.
It was 400 or 500. Going to our college, I have to tell you, it gave me a panic attack how little amount of people there were, because I hate attention. I really don't like it. And when I was in those classes with all those people, if I didn't want to answer a question, nobody would even know. Nobody would even know. Unless it's one of the teachers that I talk to all the time, and there were a few of those. But in college, Every single person. So what do you think? I don't want to talk. I don't want to. I'm okay. I don't have anything to add to this.
So let's back up to the locker thing, because you were talking,
Okay.
we said something about backpacks. So we weren't allowed to have backpacks
I forgot,
at all.
Yeah.
But
You told me that.
I did. I also told you that I had what I call the locker buddy. Like, we didn't actually share lockers, thank God. I would have, like, had to kill somebody.
But
however,
you had the small lockers. That's why you didn't have to share.
Yeah, that's why we didn't have to share, which was kind of nice. However...
I had the big lockers.
Yeah, you suck. We know.
We had to share, though, so it's the same thing. It's just you had a split one with your little locker buddy, and I had a shared one with my locker buddy.
Yeah, no, my locker buddy was just, like, underneath me. But even when the locker situation changed, we always went by last name. So there was this guy who I always called my locker buddy, even, like, when we moved, and we weren't necessarily, like, underneath each other or anything. Because
But
we
it
always
was
had to
by
stand
last
next to each
name by
other.
grade, right?
Yeah.
So
by grade.
That's not bad.
Everything we did was by last name by grade. So I was stuck with this kid. Literally, he and I were next to each other for, like, I don't know, 4 years in high school. And then before that, when we did testing, he and I were always in the same grouping. Because mine was LAW, that's what it started with, and his started with LAY. So we were always right next to each other. And I swear to God, like, for the first couple years, he hated me, especially in high school, because I really loved chicken salad and tuna salad for my lunch, and I always had to take my own lunch because I'm gluten-free. So, because my school never had those kinds of options, I'm from the middle of nowhere, more or less.
Yeah,
so,
mine didn't either. They might have later, and I didn't check.
Yeah, I was, like, the only person in the entire school that was gluten-free, so they really didn't care. But anyways, I always carried those for lunch, and so he always hated me.
Just because you can't eat gluten doesn't mean that should be the only reason that they change it. They should have changed it anyways.
No, they were never going to change it.
Everybody's lactose intolerant. People can't eat bread. And they're like, it's okay. We only have pizza. So all of you that have dairy intolerance, just deal. Anybody who's allergic to bread, just deal. I'm like, what?
No, like, they never had anything for me to eat. I carried my lunch every single day, my entire school career. But anyways, this kid hated me because I always took chicken salad. But, like, I think he grew to like me. I don't know. But, like, I always went, hey, locker buddy. And he was like, you're irritating. And, like, I continued that our entire high school career. But, like, I was sad to leave him, even though I knew he kind of sort of hated me. And we did have a lot of classes together, to be fair. So, like, he saw me all the time. We were in, like...
Yeah.
We only had a couple AP classes, so, like, we happened to be in all the advanced classes together.
Mm-hmm.
Poor him. I want to put out, like, a public apology. Like, I'm so sorry I irritated you with my chicken salad and my tuna salad.
He's fine. He was just being difficult.
He was so difficult, but, like, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Whatever. Okay. What else do we have to talk about today? We have other things to talk about.
Well,
we were going to talk about actual homecoming. Like, we were going to talk about that just a little bit.
Oh, yeah. My homecoming was weird because my school, because of how old it was, decided to just not have things that were useful and important for our school when it came to sports. Like, no swimming pool. Clock tower, swimming pool. They chose clock tower. Our field was actually technically considered too small to be a varsity field. Mm-hmm. So soccer games and football games were played at actually my mom's high school. And so we always had our games there. And which is fine, whatever. It's not too far from my mom's house, very far from my dad's house. But so like the worst thing about it though is like we have weather in the states that we're from, so it was always really cold, like really really cold. Mm-hmm. And luckily, even if we lost, our games and our homecoming dances weren't on the same day because our games were during the school week, and our dances were on the weekends. They were on Saturdays. Our dances were always on Saturdays, I believe. So. People got over it. And let me just tell you something. No offense to our football team, but I don't think our football team ever won anything, at least not when I was there, and I don't remember them ever winning. We do have, like, flags and shit from every sport that says, like, when they won years, and I don't think it was since, like, the 80s. So it was always kind of a bummer to go to football. They won sometimes. They would win a homecoming game, but they would never get close to winning state.
Do you want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
My high school team never won. Like, our football team, I think I could count on, like, 2 hands the number of times they won the entire time I was in high school.
That's awful.
It was terrible, and they never won a homecoming game. Like, the players weren't terrible, but also, like, small school, less people to choose from, right?
Yeah.
And
I
a
would
lot
just
of the kids,
feel awful for schools that, like, went straight to homecoming after that, you know?
We did. So they decided that
and they're all
our
sad.
Oh my god, yes. So they decided that our homecoming games were, like, our informal games, like, our informal dances. So,
Weird.
like, the semi-formal was, like, Snowfest, which was, like, homecoming for football and, like, or for basketball, sorry. And then, like, we had our normal other dances. However, our homecoming dance was the only one that, like, we showed up in what we wore to the football game. So, like, we walked straight over from the
dresses.
game.
It looked like a normal homecoming.
Yeah, no, we didn't. We just wore, like, our Northwest gear.
Okay, but here's the thing. Why would they decide to do that if they know... I get that your school, like, normally did this, but if they knew your football players sucked and they knew they were going to lose, why would they plan a thing that's supposed to be fun for the same day that they knew half of the school was going to be disappointed?
They just always did.
Or were the football players just not disappointed because they knew they were going to lose?
No, they were always disappointed. What was the point of
playing football then?
They were always disappointed. Honestly, most of the football players didn't even end up coming to the dance because they never wanted to go. Also, a note about, like, at least the years that I was in high school, none of our homecoming court were ever the popular kids. Popular, like, football players, cheerleaders, like, they never really they would be court, maybe, but, like, they definitely didn't win.
That's interesting.
Typically, the people that won were, like, from band, because the majority of our students were actually in band class rather than, like, caring about sports.
You know, I have a question for you, because at my school, I'm pretty sure that the people who were, like, nominated for court were nominated by teachers.
Really?
And then people would vote on them.
You know, I'm pretty sure that we nominated them and then we voted. Typically, like, they would be nominated, like, the football players would be nominated, but, like, they didn't win. Typically, it was, like, someone from band.
Care at my school.
Usually, oh my god. Okay, so we had, like, an unhealthy obsession with our drumline. I don't really know why, but, like, all the drumline guys were really hot, and so they usually ended up on court.
Yeah.
I don't understand. There was one year, one of the guys who was nominated, he was, like, on the soccer team, and he was part of, like, drumline, and he was real cute. I liked him. Okay. I know this isn't on our list. I know this isn't what we were going to talk about, but, like, I feel like this is high school related, and, like, every time I think about my high school career, this is one of the things I think about.
Okay.
So I didn't have an older sibling. I was the oldest cousin. I was the oldest sibling, like, on both sides of my family.
Oh, God, you're going to talk about your uncles, aren't you?
I am. So I was lucky enough, I grew up with my uncles who were about 12 and 14, and then 16 years older than me, and because my mom and my dad both had really young siblings. And that's just part of the young siblings. There's more, but these are the ones that are important, and they went to my high school. So about 12 years before I went to high school, they were there. And they were kind of known to hang out with some of the guys who made maybe not such great decisions. They did pranks. They were the kind of kids who, like, they couldn't show up to class on time, never turned in their homework, but they were capable of pulling off these really extensive pranks. So there's two that I want to tell you about. But first of all, the reason why this constantly came up when I was in high school was because some of the teachers had also been their teachers.
Yeah.
And so one of the first things that happened when I walked into one of their classes was them going, "Which uncle are you going to act like?" And I was, like, blown away that they even knew I was related to them, because obviously different last name, different, like, nobody would necessarily know that they were my uncles, but this guy did. And wildfire, dude, it spread. Everybody knew these were my uncles. Everybody knew what they had done. Everybody thought that I was from a family of, like, gold, just gold. They were like, "Oh my god, Emily's family is so cool." So one of my uncles participated in a prank where they managed to get a kid, and you should never try this. It's super dangerous. I'm not recommending this at all. They got a kid at every single toilet in the entire school, including this teacher's lounge, the bathroom by the principal's office that, like, the principal got to use. Like, they got a kid in every single bathroom in this entire school, every single stall. And they timed it. They put watches on, and these kids couldn't show up to class on time, but they put watches on, and they flushed all the toilets at exactly the same time and caused thousands of dollars worth of plumbing damage. My uncle got away scot-free. Luckily, his friends didn't rat him out. But, like, these kids, oh my god. So, like, that story came out during one of my classes with a teacher who knew who I was related to. And then another story came out later on because my other uncle, that's the younger one, was involved in a prank that ruined our school's ecology pond. Like, we had one nice thing. We didn't have a lot of, like, extra amenities with our school, but we did have an ecology pond for studying. And him and his friends dumped goldfish in it. Again, do not recommend. It actually ruins it. it ruins the entire, like, biology of the ecology pond. There is no more ecology pond there. They actually ended up, I think they ended up having to, like, spend thousands of dollars trying to, like, rid the pond of the goldfish, but they didn't realize, like, that they had laid eggs, and they came back the next year. So my family is known for destruction, and that's what I was related to in high school.
Lovely. Yeah, no, my cousin was quiet, so they just wanted to know if I was going to be quiet or not, and we are both quiet in class. Yes, that's it.
I was really shy until I got into, like, the middle of high school, but
I didn't act
like
the
my
teachers
uncles,
I loved.
so.
I loved certain teachers, and I'd talk all day with them. Mm-hmm. But there were some that I was silent. My favorite teacher, not my favorite teacher, because there are a lot of teachers I liked, and some of them are friends with me on Facebook now, so I don't want to be mean, because I loved them all. But one of them, so he was the type of person that would just blurt out random things that had nothing to do with what we were talking about. And one of those times, there was a church that came to the school, and they were, like, protesting against, LGBTQ rights, right? So we all went outside of the school and were, like, protesting against them instead of going to class. That's what we did that morning. And we go to his class, and he goes, I think it's great what you guys did. You guys did a great, whatever, that whole spiel of, like, you guys are making good progress and all that. And then he goes, one time when I was in high school, I thought I was gay for a minute. We like, what? And he goes, yeah, I went to a party with my girlfriend, and I saw this guy that, like, I was kind of friends with, that I, like, kind of knew, but we weren't close. And I looked at him, and I was like, he looks really good. And then I was like, am I into him? Am I into him like that? And he sat there and thought about it, and he was like, no.
Okay, if this isn't the most beautiful segue, that's true. Who tells high school students that story for sure?
No.
You went to a much more liberal high school than I did. You're really lucky. Yeah. But this is a beautiful segue because a lot of our guy friends in college pulled that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, all the time. They were so weird.
I love them for it, but, like...
No, but it wasn't even like that. It was worse because, obviously, the teacher is telling teenagers this story. He can't say certain things. But, like, for example, orientation. Our school didn't have, really anything. Didn't have homecoming, didn't have stuff like that.
No.
Trust me, our friends, some of our closer friends, tried to make things like that happen at the school. And we had, like... Halloween events or like little mini film fest events and things like that. But as for actually starting school,
I'm sorry. Hold up. Mini little film fest things.
I'm not talking about yours because yours didn't exist for half the time we were in the school. All we had was orientation, right? Yeah. So our orientation was like split up into like a 2-day process where like it'd be half the alphabet and the other half of the alphabet, and then they'd go to Warner Brothers, which I missed because I had to go back to Colorado for dance. Because I was a senior dancer in a show that was going on for 2 weekends, and one of the weekends was after I started school. So,
I'm sorry you missed it, because it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, but so I ended up going with the first half of the alphabet, and so I got put into a different group with one of my future roommates from sophomore year, and also with the only person that I had met prior to orientation when I had come to just tour the school, who happened to be from Colorado. And that's why I asked for him, because I knew who he was, and he said he was a mentor. He talked about the best teachers to take, and if you could choose a teacher, to take these teachers. And one of them in particular, who was my editing teacher for almost every class I was in, you should take him because he's also the hottest one.
I mean, like, on Rate My Professors, he got, like, 5 of the Chili Peppers or whatever, so, like... Yeah, a lot of people thought that, so... A
lot of people thought he was hot, yeah. But then, one of the girls, who ended up being my roommate, was like, so, if we want to go out, like, to a club and whatever, where do we go? And then he's like, oh, you have to talk to this one guy, and he could also supply you with drugs. Why is that the thing? Why is that what you tell your... like, and look, she was 22, 23 at the time, somewhere around there. So, like, she was at least... of drinking age, so it wasn't as bad, but then there was us, and then he started talking about how hot that guy is. So that was my orientation.
Yeah, when you're in a small school, I think most people in the world don't understand what it's like to be a part of such a small school. Like, if we're talking like the number of students who actually went on campus a normal amount and would communicate with people, it probably was only
everybody
like
knew
200
everything
people.
About everyone.
Yeah. Everybody's life, everyone's dating history, like,
But the worst part wasn't the students, because the students, honestly, if you really think about it, the students didn't care at all. The faculty and staff cared.
Oh my god, they gossiped. They gossiped so bad. I would walk into a room to get help with something from a staff member and they'd be talking about students.
Let's just refresh this. Last week we said that we went to a film school. And one of the funniest things is that the staff and faculty would always say, you know, you guys go to a small school and there's a lot of gossip that you guys hear about each other and that you spread about each other. That's going to be a big part of the industry if you're involved in the industry. And then they're doing it too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get that. I get that you guys also work in the industry. At least when we first started, most of them did. And then later on, they were in different industries, which made no sense because it's a film school.
Okay, I don't know if you can relate to this, but I had 2 separate teachers try to hook me up with another student at some point during my school career. 2 separate teachers, 2 different people. So, like, my teachers were so invested. One of them literally looked at me and looked at the kid next to me and went, "You guys are so cute. You guys should date." And I was like, "Excuse me, this is a writing class, sir. Like, what?" And I looked at my friend, because, like, we're friends at that point. I looked at my friend, and he looked at me, and, like, we barely could make eye contact after that. It was so awkward to have a teacher, like, insist you guys should date because you'd be cute together, because the way you guys talk is cute.
No, but this is what I would have happen to me. The staff would ask me, I mean, students also did this, but would come up to me and ask me, like, "Oh, you know this person?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've met them, like, once. We worked on a set together. Are they dating so-and-so?" No, I don't know. Why don't you ask them? And even if I did know, I felt really awkward because, like, it would always be, like, the people that I didn't know who they were that would ask me about other people's dating lives.
Yeah. Yeah, no, college was, like, a whole different world.
Our college was not real. It was weird. It was, like, it was school, but it wasn't. It didn't make sense.
I mean, like, it was the kind of school where, like, I had a guy, this is a friend of ours, love him dearly, but Jesus Christ. He walked up to me. He didn't know who I was. He went, "You're Emily, right?" And we had, like, little mini, like, pre-made sets on campus we could use.
I need to tell you how this started.
Okay.
I was talking to him and another guy because we had class together. And I had just recently met him, too, because it's, like, the second week of the school year that year. And he was like, "Do you know Emily?" And I was like, "Yes." And then he was like, "I have a question for her. Do you know where she is?" And I was like, "She's right there." And then he went and...
Yeah, so, okay, we had these little mini, like, pre-made sets that a lot of the freshmen and sophomores would use. So I was, like, sitting in one, because, like, you were allowed to, like, hang out in them. I'm sitting in one, like, trying to do homework or something. He walks up and goes, "Hey, you're Emily, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are." And he goes, "Oh, this is my name." And I was like, "Oh, cool, like, nice to meet you." And he goes, "So I have a question for you. Is it okay if I ask you a question? It's kind of personal." And I was like, "Yeah." And he looks at me and he goes, he, like, pulls a chair out and, like, sits down, like, real, like, you know? And he's like, "So I'm dating this girl and it's long distance and it's not going great right now. Like, we're really struggling. Like, I'm trying to make it work. We're trying to see each other as much as we can. Like, but I don't know if I should break up with her or propose to her." And I went, "I'm sorry, what?"
That continued for a while. That continued
It did. But I'm sorry, he did not know me. We had barely a few friends in common. He literally walked up out of nowhere and was like, "You're Emily, right? Let me ask you if I should propose to my long-distance girlfriend even though we're fighting."
Yeah.
I was like, no, don't propose to her if you're fighting. Like, that doesn't fix everything.
I think he thought it was going to be a fix. But do you know, honestly, there was a lot of weird things that happened at the school where, like, people didn't know each other and, like, it didn't matter.
It was like, "Oh, if you're here, I go to school with you and you know people I know and so it's okay." Like, all the time. I think
everybody had this perception of our school, too, which, to be fair, the majority of people in our school, not all, were safe, right? Yeah. So I think it's also because we all thought of each other as just weird nerds.
And I think that was actually very accurate. We were all weird nerds. We all had our own trauma. We all, like, they had on campus hired contracted therapists that we could go see because we obviously needed help, all of us. And she passed away and then we had a new one.
Yes, we did.
Because that was really, really traumatic. Like, we have a school therapist.
Awful. I was
and then
talking
she died.
to her, and then she was gone. And then she died. That she passed away.
They were like, "We have another therapist coming if you need to talk to somebody about the death of your previous therapist."
Yeah. And
it was super screwed up.
And then she was like, "Just put it in a box. Put it in a box and worry about the other things." And I was like, She died.
Milan,
What do you mean?
She tried to blame everything in my life on my weight. No joke.
Oh, Jesus.
Every single thing. I was like, you are creating issues for me, ma'am. And it turned out I had an actual medical condition and it wasn't all just about my weight. Like,
yeah.
She was terrible. I don't think we should talk about much more of that right now.
No, but do you know what we can talk about is Dreamcasts.
Okay. Here we go. We're Dreamcasting Twilight today. I'm at the edge of my seat. I'm so excited.
And when we say Twilight, we mean the entire saga.
Yeah. We will pop up pictures still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Twilight.
We'll start off with the main cast of the first movie.
Yeah.
You want to go first?
Sure.
Show me your Bella.
So, Bella was played by Kristen Stewart, not like we needed to know that, but I picked Crystal Reed, who played Allison Argent in Teen Wolf.
Yeah. We do need to specify that we gave ourselves free reign on this episode for casting. So we can pick any person at any point in their life.
Yes.
Even if they've already died, or if they died in the 50s, or if, whatever the situation may be. And we're going to pop up the pictures of them at the correct ages, so you can see what we're talking about.
Yes. Who is your Bella?
For my Bella, I was, having a hard time choosing, and you and I went in very different directions on our cast, like we talked about.
I figured.
Because we gave each other, a sneak peek of, one or two characters, and we went very different. So for mine, I chose, a very young Sarah Michelle Gellar. I'm talking before she did...
Interesting.
Before she did Buffy, yeah. I have a picture. Okay. It's great. She looks very young. Or my second option was a young Shannon Dowtree from,
I like that one.
90210.
Yeah, not that Sarah Michelle Gellar's a bad choice, but... Shannon Doherty is better, I think.
Okay, when you see the picture that I chose, you'll understand why I picked Sarah for that one moment.
Okay, obviously, Charlie was played by Billy Burke, and Billy Burke is the best Charlie, because Charlie in the book actually was kind of sucky, and Billy Burke made him likable. So I had two. I think the best choice was Mark Ruffalo. But the first Avengers movie time, Mark Ruffalo, that's fine. Yeah. And then my second choice was Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and he was in The Walking Dead, which is what I feel like most people are going to recognize him as, because I think people talk about that a lot on TikTok. But he was also in Supernatural. And I would say early Supernatural would be the vibe, right? Yeah. Okay.
So based on my Bella, I went for Paul Rudd as my Charlie. I thought he played the dad part pretty well. I think he plays awkward well. Okay, so who's next? Renee? Is that your...
Renee, yeah. Renee Dwyer, who is played by Sarah Clark.
Okay, you picked...
And I picked the year 2000, Demi Moore.
Okay. I picked a young Ellen Pompeo from The Greys.
Interesting.
Again, remember who I picked as my Bella. I needed to bring in something to even out the Paul Rudd to make our Bella.
Then I would say that it would be Sarah Michelle Gellar.
In that moment, I was working more with her than Shannon, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, you know, that's actually interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I haven't watched Grey's Anatomy, so.
Okay.
So now we are on to Edward.
Okay.
Played by dear old Rob.
Wait, who? Geez.
I saw somebody, Robert Pattinson. What the do you mean?
Oh, that's right. You said it, and I was like, what?
I watched a video where in the video she kept calling him Bobby P because she thought it was funny. Now I'm obsessed with that. Dear old Bobby P.
Love it.
So I had an image first because I was like, this person would be a good Edward, and he looks like Edward, which was Henry Cavill, specifically. Okay. Dude, okay, I do have to just take a break from this and say this real quick. I have never felt more like a stalker in my life than I have looking up these celebrities. I swear to God, I realized I don't know shit about any celebrity that I think I do, because I feel like now I know their entire life stories.
Oh my God.
But anyways, I picked specifically, this is why I say this, in 2003, Henry Cavill in a movie called I Capture the Castle. Do I know what that is? No. But I saw a picture of it, and that's what it said it was from. And then I was like, or a Sebastian Stan, pre-Gossip Girl, which I've also not seen. But I've seen a picture of him in it, and younger than that. And then I was like, no, the best one, and the one why I said my Edward is better than yours, is Heath Ledger.
You know, I used him, but not as Edward. You'll understand why I didn't pick him for Edward, because I picked him for somebody else in Edward's family. Cool. So I went with Paul Wesley.
Why did I know you were going to pick Paul Wesley? And then I was like, you can't pick Paul Wesley because everybody used to say Paul Wesley was cast as in The Vampire Diaries because he looks like Robert Pattinson.
But he doesn't to me. And I'm thinking like him a little bit younger than when he started in Vampire Diaries. He's supposed to be fair. 17. Like, he's supposed to be
Paul Wesley.
He's got to play against these young kids.
I still think Heath Ledger's better.
You know, I thought so too until I saw him as this other character. Okay, so who do you have next?
Okay, so Carlisle, right, was played by Peter... How do you say his last name? Peter Facinelli?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I don't know, but I loved him as Carlisle, but he was way too old to play Carlisle, apparently. Did you know that?
The makeup application they used to make them look vampire-esque, like that white skin, like tried to make it blur kind of vibe.
I actually think he looked older in Twilight. Yeah. He looked way older in Twilight than he does still in real life.
Yeah, that full face of makeup they put on all their vampires made them look significantly older, in my opinion. So I'm sure if we did this movie now, they'd have better technology.
Oh, yeah,
and the makeup applications are way different than they were then. So
okay, my Carlisle...
Go for it.
Do you want to say your Carlisle? No, I want to say my Carlisle. I have to say my Carlisle. Okay.
Do it.
Okay. I was like, the only other person that could play Carlisle would be Jude Law. Specifically, I was thinking of a Jude Law around the time of Gattaca, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, I know. Well, I also chose Jude Law. So I had a second option. My second option was a young Matthew McConaughey. Like, I'm talking pretty damn young. Yeah. Okay, I'm assuming Esme is the next on your list?
Yes, who was played by Elizabeth Reeser. Mm-hmm. I liked her Esme, I really did. But
but I feel like she looked too old still. Like, I think just the way they casted it, they just made everybody just a tick too old.
Yeah. Yeah, but so I have two Esmes, and I think either of them could be it, but I think my second one is gonna be the one to go with. So I have a young Genevieve Cortese, probably like mid 2000s, who played the second Ruby. She's also known as Genevieve Padalecki.
Oh my god. Yeah, I know. She loves her. Like, I'm not joking. She loves her.
Also, a 2000s Alyssa Milano, who I think is the better Esme.
I think you're a little bit more on my vibe with that one, because I went for an Alexandria Daddario.
Interesting.
Yeah. Especially against... Yeah. I always think of her in the TV show, I think it's called White Collar.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think of her in that. I was thinking of her, like, that time period.
Yeah.
A little bit older, fair. But, like, I thought she'd be cute against, like, a Jude Law. Right?
I think that Alyssa Milano would be cute against good Jude Law.
Whatever. Okay, who's next?
Anyways, so next is Alice, who was obviously played by Ashley Greene. I was thinking our new resident Snow White, Rachel Zegler.
I went for Carey Mulligan. Like a young Carey Mulligan.
Oh. Wow, I didn't even think about that.
She just looks pixie to me. I think she's perfect.
Yeah, no, she would be, for sure.
And Daisy. I like her because of who I picked for Jasper. Okay, so Jasper was originally played by...
Jasper was originally played by Jackson Rathbone, and he did a great job with Jasper.
He did. So I picked Heath Ledger for Jasper, which is why I said that I thought Carey Mulligan would be cute with Heath Ledger.
Jasper?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he could be that creepy.
Yeah.
He could.
I thought he would do it. He would have done it justice.
Edward.
Milan.
He would make Edward charming as Anyways.
Oh my god.
He would.
Who did you pick for Jasper?
I picked a very young Orlando Bloom.
You know, I cast him elsewhere in this movie, but I understand.
That's funny. And now, we're going to move on to Emmett.
Your favorite.
Who is my favorite Cullen.
I don't think you'll agree with me, but I really like my casting. I don't know if it would work, like... Won't. Because of the year he was supposed to have been turned, I don't know if this guy's look will work well, but I'm vibing with it.
We'll see. But he was originally played by Cullen Lutz, but this is why this person was no longer my Edward, was because I was like, Henry Cavill. He has the curly hair, too, the way that Rosalie describes Emmett him with the dimples and the curly hair and all that stuff. Yeah. But age him up a few years.
Okay. Okay, so I went for, again, young Jason Momoa.
Use Jason Momoa? I disagree. It's so hard.
Young him, I know he's not quite right for the
so
time
hard.
period, but I think a young him could have played that character really well.
Young him could play most characters well. It's Jason
Agreed.
Momoa.
Okay, so let's move on to Rosalie, who was originally played by...
The lovely Nikki Reed, right?
And Milana's saying this because she has the list in front of her, and I do not, and I always forget people's names. So
Yes, she does. Besides the point, I had two people, which one is very similar, I think, which was Diana Agron, who was in Glee.
Yeah.
She would make a good Rose in the way that Nikki made a good Rose. But then I was like, Rosalie. Scarlett Johansson.
I wrote ScarJo! Oh my god. No, I agree. ScarJo is the winner. Especially, I was thinking, obviously, like, younger her. Like,
yeah.
circa, like, when she was 17 or 18.
Since she was a teenager.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
anyway,
next person.
On.
Jacob Black, who is also just as bad as Edward and just as bad as Bella.
But you and I chose the same person on this because when we first discussed doing this, we already decided.
We need to say who it is first.
Okay, originally it was played by...
our wonderful Taylor Lautner, a.k.a. Shark Boy.
You will never let that go.
No, I won't. I loved Shark Boy and Love Girl. I loved that movie so much. Okay, so...
But we both went for...
Boo Boo.
Yeah.
I should say Boo Boo Stewart, who played Seth in the original. I get he was already in it, but I don't care. Imagine, like, Boo Boo in Eclipse as, like, Jacob in Twilight, and then Boo Boo in Descendants as Jacob in the rest of Twilight.
Yeah. No, it would have worked so well. Okay, who's next?
Yes. Billy Black.
Okay, I don't have a Billy. I absolutely loved who played him originally, which was...
Gil Berg.
You good?
It's Gil.
Yeah.
Gil
So when
Billy.
When I was looking for someone, I kept scrolling, and every time I saw his face, I was like, that's it, that's him. And I was like, that's the same person who played him originally.
Every single person I kept thinking of who could play Billy just didn't look enough like Boo Boo. And I didn't know what to do, so I cheated again. And I used the original Harry Clearwater, which is Graham Greene, and made him Billy.
Okay.
Okay. So next is Jessica Stanley, who was played by, of course, Anna Kendrick. Duh.
Yeah.
So I picked Brenna D'Amico.
I don't know who that is.
Yes, you do. She was Jane in Descendants.
Oh,
You know how
okay.
much I love her.
No, I know.
She would be the perfect Jessica. And that's what Jessica's supposed to look like in the books.
It's so funny because I actually chose Danielle Campbell.
Interesting.
And she has a similar, like, look to that girl. I'm thinking younger her. Like, her when she did Starstruck.
Yeah, similar.
Yeah.
Next, Angela Weber was played by Kristen Serratos.
Yeah. So who'd you pick?
I picked America Ferrera.
I picked Alexis Bledel.
Interesting.
Whose family is Hispanic.
I know that.
Okay, just throwing that out there. Because some
Her
people see her
name
and they go, white girl. Like, that's what people think when they see her. Because, like, Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, that's true. But there's skin color is different than ethnicity, which we're going to learn and we're going to talk about plenty along the time that we do this podcast.
Yes.
I do like Alexis Bledel. Mike Newton is next, and he was played by Michael Welch. So I have 3, and I don't like any of them, but I also like all of them. The first one is Riley Smith, and if you don't know who that is, he was the guy in motocross. Then the second person I thought was Emilio Estevez during, like, Breakfast Club time, because that's literally what his character was.
Yeah.
And then I also did actually have him as Edward, and then he didn't work with the right decade. But so I made him kind of look like Edward because I had him as an Edward choice, which was Jason Priestley in 90210.
So I went a different direction. I went with Lucas Till.
Of course he did. He's too nice.
Like, am I wrong, though?
He's too nice.
No, but, like, he could play passively, like...
Oh, no, could he?
Yeah.
I get that, though. I get that. Sports. Yes. Lucas Till. Yes.
He looks like a football player. Like, that's when I see him, I go, football player.
Okay.
I don't know.
I have to flip to my next page of Twilight people.
one more person in their little friend group. Sorry, two more people in their little friend group.
Which is, next is Eric Yorkie, who was originally played by Justin Chon, I believe. And I picked Jordan Rodriguez from Lady Bird, or Ki Hong Lee from Maze Runner.
Okay, I went with Charles Melton. I felt like he needed to be a little bit prettier to keep up with the other pretty boys that I picked.
Right. Charles Melton. He's in Riverdale.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, you know what? I can't think of anybody else now that I've pictured him as Eric. So, like, I like it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay, so we have
next.
One person left.
Yes. Which it was, so Tyler Crowley.
Mm-hmm.
Who was originally played by Gregory Tyree Boyce. Mm-hmm. And I picked Trevor Jackson, which he was the other guy in Let It Shine. I figured you'd know that explanation. You liked Let It Shine, right?
So I picked a really young Jamie Foxx. Because Tyler in the movie is kind of jokey, and he's kind of... And I was like, I feel like a young Jamie Foxx would have been so good.
I've never... I don't think I've seen, like a teenage Jamie Foxx before.
I was thinking, like, early 20s playing teenage.
Yeah, that's true. He could.
He'd be really cute and really funny, and, like, I feel like in the movies, Tyler's just real jokey. Like, he, like, literally, swings around and, like, kisses Bella on the cheek and goes, "My girl," and, like, laughs and runs away. Like, that's a Jamie Foxx move. I don't know why, but I think Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, because Jamie Foxx is kind of smooth. I get you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next, my Victoria, who was played by Rachel Levray, right? Is that how you say her last name?
I'm not 100% sure.
Rachel Lefevre. I either thought, which there's two versions, right? Because she's supposed to be like feline-like or whatever. I feel like Kate Mara could have done that, right? Like a younger Kate Mara.
Yeah.
Or Alicia Debnam Carey, and she was Lexa in The 100.
Oh, okay.
I think both of them could have done a good job. It would have just been very different.
I like your first choice. I didn't think of her, and I don't know why. However, I went with Karen Gillan.
I thought of her, and then I changed my mind.
I adore her. Like, I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. Ridiculous Doctor Who fan. Like, I'm the kind of fan that, like, my brother and I watch it together. I bought him a oversized, large sonic screwdriver.
Very large. Yeah.
Like, a stuffed sonic... Like, I love this shit. Anyways, so, like, I love where she's gone in her career, and I feel like she could really play that part now. Like, she would have to be, like, almost this age now to play that. But
probably. Emily is talking about how much she loves Doctor Who, and when I say she loves Doctor Who, I mean she loves Doctor Who. So they built a TARDIS at our school.
They did.
And
for our security box.
It was the security box. And she talked about that TARDIS for weeks. There's a TARDIS at our school. That's so cool. I was like,
I sent a video to my brother. It was like nighttime, and they had like the top light up too, just like in like when it, So I sent a picture or a video to my brother. My brother is like 4 years younger than me, and it's like one of the few things we bond over. So, but yeah, no, I am crazy, and I feel bad for Mom because I used to, every single Sunday when it came out, I'd go to Jersey Mike's because that was my shit. They have gluten-free bread there, FYI.
Yeah.
I get my gluten-free number 7, come home and watch Doctor Who, and like nobody could interrupt me because I would go off. They were like, "Emily," and I was like, "It's the one time a week I sit alone. Leave me alone."
Yeah, she'd lose it.
But yeah, no, I'm a little obsessive. Sorry.
But next, we have James, who was originally played by your favorite human. What's his name?
I always pronounce his last name wrong. So his name is Cam.
Yeah, there's a YouTuber that I really think is super funny who's obsessed with Cam, and he calls him Cam Gigante because he's got gigante abs, I believe. Is that something that he said, or something along the lines of that?
Something like that, yeah.
Loved Cam as James. Not accurate to the James in the book at all.
I know. I really struggled to replace him, though, because I really love Cam. I think that if they hadn't made him blonde, he would have been, like, a perfect James.
This James works really well, and I feel like you'll disagree with me.
We'll see. What do you think?
I picked Eric Stocklin, and if people don't know who Eric Stocklin is, let me explain. You have seen him in Bones, Lucifer. He was the main person in Stalker. He's always the, like, scary murderer in shows.
So I also aimed a little bit more book than movie. So I went with Jake Gyllenhaal. And I was like, you know what? I feel like a Jake Gyllenhaal could play, like, menacing. Like, he's done it before, I'm pretty sure, and he could do it again. Am I crazy? There's something he was in that I saw a picture of him and I went, he's been menacing before, I remember.
You saw him in Donnie Darko and you thought
that's
he was
what
scary.
it was. Yeah, I think that's probably why. That movie kind of threw me a little bit.
Yeah, you didn't like it.
It's not that I didn't like it. It's just that it threw me. Like, it really made me uncomfortable.
That age, Jake Gyllenhaal, Donnie Darko Jake Gyllenhaal could play a good James.
That's what I was thinking. One more person in that group.
Laurent, who is played by Eddie Gathegi. And honestly,
yeah, he did
fantastic.
A great job. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Good casting.
And the first one I was like, he would be good. Don't get me wrong. He'd be fantastic, but also he's beautiful. Which is Idris Elba.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
And then I put Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out.
Okay.
And the last person, funny enough, was also in Get Out, Lakeith Stanfield.
I think that you're gonna hate my choice.
Why am I gonna hate it? Oh, I'm gonna be mad, aren't I?
I was like, I don't know. Okay, so I watch a lot of TikTok. I see a lot of Sebastian Stan on my TikTok. And
you
when
picked
see
Anthony
Sebastian
Mackie.
Stan,
You picked Mackie. I f***ing know.
Yeah.
I already know.
No. When you see Sebastian, you always see Anthony. And, like, he was on the top of my brain when I was doing this because I just watched TikTok. But, like, I think Anthony Mackie could maybe do it justice. I don't know. Give him some more range. Give him a chance.
Anthony Mackie has plenty of range, first of all.
I did cast Sebastian somewhere, and I felt really wrong not casting Anthony at some point because they go together in my head.
No, there's three of them. It's the three. It's the Evans,
the
Stan, and the Mackie. Well, yeah, who's he gonna be? I didn't cast Evans. Okay, we're on New Moon now. Okay, you're going first this time.
Okay, so here's the deal. I think we need to talk about this real quick. This isn't what we were going to talk about today, but there needs to be something said about the fact that there's not a whole lot of representation for Native American actors. There's not a lot of movies with them in it, and
there's not enough representation in your everyday movie, but then there isn't enough movies made for natives, period. Now we can say that about most races, truly.
Yeah. So I did struggle, and there's quite a few actors that, like, especially when I was trying to find other people to play them after, honestly, most of the Native American actors, I really liked the casting. I think they did a decent job with most of those people. Yeah. So, like, there's quite a few people I don't have anybody for, so you're probably going to want to go first, and then I have a handful of people I do have choices for.
Okay. I will go first then, but first up, we're starting with Quillaterra. I love him.
I don't have anybody for Quill.
Who was played by Tyson Houseman, and
I thought Quill and Embry both were great choices for their own characters. Like I liked
Paul and Jared too.
Yeah, I didn't find anybody for them either. Like I picked someone new for Sam and Emily, but like those four, I was like, they're so good. Like, so good. Anyway, sorry, I got upset about having to recast them. So
I loved those. I really did like those characters. I really, really did. But I picked for Quill. I picked Simon Baker, who, if you've seen this movie, it's that Disney Channel movie Buffalo Dreams. He's the main guy in it.
Okay, and who'd you pick for Embry?
Embry Call was played by Kiowa Gordon, right? Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay, we have to talk about this. On TikTok, everybody's obsessed with the Embry that was in Twilight. That's like there for 2 seconds and doesn't talk. And for a minute, I was like, what if I just pick him? Because I would be curious to see what he would do. But then I was like, no, that's kind of cheating because he technically was him. So, Evan Adams, who's from Smoke Signals. But, like, he'd have to be still younger than he was in Smoke Signals. Okay, now we're on Sam Uli, and he was played by Chaske Spencer.
So I did have someone for him. I picked Martin Sensmeyer. Let me pull up.
That is.
One moment. Okay, so
what is he in?
He is in The Magnificent Seven.
I've seen that.
Ice Road.
I don't remember it.
The Liberator, Wind River, The Things They Carry.
I've seen that.
I think he was
remember.
Do you want me to show you a picture? Like, I know.
Yes.
Okay, so this is
guarantee him. I know who he is.
This is him.
I know who that. I like him.
Yeah, I loved him. I thought he was perfect. He looked a little like he could hold some respect amongst the other guys, you know?
Yes, technically, but also
he's supposed to be about the same age. I know.
Yeah, Sam technically phased when he was 17, so he would still be a teenager.
I know, but they always portray him as like just a little bit older, a little bit more mature than them. So I was like, him.
Oh, and also, I just want to pause for a second and say, you realize that not to you. To the people listening, the werewolves in Twilight are actually not werewolves. They're shapeshifters that turn into wolves.
Yeah.
Because werewolves are extinct. Anyways, I like my Sam actually a lot. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, and I don't want to mess it up, so I'm not going to. But his name's Ajwalk. And he was in Once Upon a River, which came out like a year or two ago. Okay, and then we have Paul. Mm-hmm. He was played by Alex Mraz.
I know.
I loved Paul. Okay, anyways. I picked Adam Beach for Paul, and he was also in Smoke Signals. But Adam Beach was also in his 30s in Smoke Signals. So, like, he had to be aged down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and who'd you have for Jared? So
Jared was played by originally Bronson. How do you say his name? Pelletier.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Bronson Pelletier. And I picked Tonka Means, and he was also in Once Upon a River. And he'd also have to be younger. Next, we have Emily. She was played by Tinsel Corey. I like Tinsel Corey as Emily. She's pretty accurate, I think, to the book.
Yeah.
Who did you pick for Emily?
So I picked Misty Upham. She unfortunately passed away in 2014, but she was in some pretty cool movies. This is her. Let me just... Like a younger her.
Yes, I know that. Yes, I know her.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you did, honestly. She was in Frozen River, and she was in August. I always pronounce that wrong. This is, this movie. One second, let me grab a picture. That movie.
August Osage County. Yes, I've heard of that movie.
I can't pronounce anything well, so I just don't try at some point, because I don't want to be offensive, ever.
Okay,
anyways.
Ready for my
So yeah,
Emily?
I picked her. Yeah.
I tried really hard to pick people that I had seen them and stuff, because I didn't want to just pick people to pick people. But for Emily, I did, but I picked her because she looks like an Emily.
Okay.
She's very pretty. Her name is Jessica Matten. I haven't seen her in anything, but she's in things that I've heard of.
You know what's funny? So, I think I picked her for something else.
I'm gonna guess Leah.
Yeah. Originally, I had her for... The funny thing is, I had her for Emily. And then I saw Misty, and I was like, you know what? I feel like she's more of an Emily to my Sam. So let me move her to be Leah. So that's sense. My Leah. Yeah.
Okay. Next is Harry Clearwater. And I want to preface this by saying Harry and Sue do not look like my Leah and Seth. But my Leah and Seth look like each other. So it's fine. My Sue does have the same face shape, though, as the other two.
Well, that's good.
Okay, so my Harry. Do you have a Harry?
No.
Okay, so my Harry is Michael Grey Eyes, who is also in Smoke Signals. And he was originally played by Graham Greene, obviously, who I used as Billy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next, Aro, who was actually supposed to be 20, and he was played by Michael Sheen.
They made him quite a bit older.
Yeah.
Okay, so who'd you have for Arrow?
Okay, a young John Stamos, but without the, like, Full House hair.
Okay. So I went with Tom Hiddleston. He's supposed to have black hair that's, like, to his shoulders or something like that. And he's supposed to be tall and thin. Well, he's supposed to be tall and thin, too, and I think he's the one that's supposed to be kind of silent.
Aro?
No, he's the other one. That's not him.
Marcus.
My brain is fried. We've been doing this way too long. Yes, okay, Marcus is supposed to be silent. Aro's supposed to be, like, very, like, articulate. I flipped them around in my head. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I thought Tom Hiddleston would, like, he'd do that. He could do that, yeah.
Anyways.
Okay, so Marcus is the quiet one because he's upset.
Yes, and he is also supposed to be the same age as Aro, and in the books he marries Aro's sister, and his sister dies. Anyways.
Yeah.
He was originally played by Christopher Heyerdahl, and he was also around, like, 40 in the movie.
Yeah, and he wasn't supposed to be.
And this is why I thought my Marcus was perfect. I picked baby Sebastian Stan.
Do you know who I picked? Sebastian Stan.
I was like, my Marcus is going to be better than yours. I know it, Emily.
No,
and you were like, no, my Marcus is going to be better than yours. It's the same person.
Yeah. It's because we both went for Sebastian Stan. Okay, and then
I love that.
Caius is next.
And Caius was actually supposed to be the oldest one, and he was the youngest one in the movies because he's played by Jamie Campbell Bower, one of Emily's favorite humans.
I do love Jamie Campbell Bower. You cannot tell me he is a bad choice. He might not have been cast well for this movie, but he's always a good choice. That is my statement.
Yeah, no, Jamie Campbell Bower is a great actor, but he's not Caius. He's not the right age. Okay. Caius. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
I want to go first.
Okay.
Okay, so I went back towards the book, which he's supposed to be the older one, and he's supposed to have long blonde hair.
Yes.
Orlando Bloom.
Because Lord of the Rings, is that why?
I told you I used him later.
God damn it. Okay.
I thought he'd be good. Like, I thought he could be a good choice.
Fair.
I don't know.
But, did I in fact use somebody who already played a vampire? No, I used his brother.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Skarsgård.
You know, I used a Skarsgård at one point, too, but not for him. Okay, so Jane is next on our list.
Yes. Okay,
There you go.
I have to say my Alec first because I cast my Alec first. And
Okay.
That's kind of how I figured it out. And Alec was played by Cameron Bright, who I did Finn Wolfhard. Who,
Really?
He's in Stranger Things.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, he gives me very Alec in the book vibes. And then...
Okay.
And then I was like, I don't know anybody that looks like him. Then I was like, let me just see if any of his cast members look like him. And you know what? I found a picture where him and Millie Bobby Brown look really similar. So she's my Jane.
So I picked my Jane first. From the moment I started thinking about casting this, I knew that I wanted a young Drew Barrymore for Jane. I know I sound crazy. Young Drew Barrymore. I've got a picture, the exact picture. I can show it to you later.
I'll see
I think
it.
it's on
I'll
my
see it,
computer.
yeah.
But a young her. I also thought about Kirsten Dunst for a hot second because she was in Interview with a Vampire and she did really well. But she was a little too young at that point, like when she played that character, and I wasn't sure if I'd like her a little bit older. So I went with young Drew Barrymore. And then from there, I saw a picture of this actor named Garrett Hedlund. And I ended up showing you a picture of him.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Because I couldn't figure out who he was at first. I had to spin around. And then I was thinking about it, and I also was like, I feel like maybe a young Alexander Ludwig would actually play a Drew Barrymore sibling.
Yeah, no, he could.
Yeah, so a younger version of him, like I'm thinking back when he was in Race to Witch Mountain, give or take. Loved that movie. So yeah, and then I also was like, okay, if I had to have one more, because like that was at the beginning of my casting, and like honestly I was trying way harder. I had a third, and I thought maybe like a super young Chris Hemsworth against a young Drew Barrymore for a sibling might also be kind of cute.
Interesting.
There's something about that vibe that I kind of also thought sibling-esque, but I think I'm probably going to stick with Alexander Ludwig.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Next.
You're going to love my Felix.
I love my Felix. And it's funny because I've heard this name come up already. One of my Felixes, I've heard the name come up already. So Felix was originally played by Daniel Cudmore. I tried really hard to cast these people as what they were like supposed to be ethnically in the books.
Yeah.
Which Felix and Dimitri are supposed to be Italian. So
I tried for most of the actors, but not all of them.
Yeah, it was hard. But so I have two Felixes, and it's because they have that kind of boisterous personality, right? That Felix is supposed to have. So I picked Joe Manganiello.
Okay.
Who he was in True Blood.
Yeah.
He played Alcide. And then I was like, if not him, I know that he's not like, of the Iberian Peninsula type of human. Yeah. But Jason Momoa.
So I went a different direction, and I went Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Charlie Hunnam.
I know. Really do. I know. Okay, so for Dimitri, I don't actually have anybody. I was stuck. Couldn't think of anybody.
So I actually started running out of people too. I feel like all the people that I'm thinking of are kind of like a Felix character. And then I was like, oh, that one dude from that one movie that I refused to watch, 365 Dates.
I don't know. I don't think I've watched it either.
It's basically 50 Shades of Grey except for an Italian movie about a mafia.
Oh.
Anyways, don't want to watch it. 50 Shades of Grey makes me uncomfortable enough. Besides the point, because guess what? It's based off Twilight, and I didn't know that. Hated it. Okay, so I picked, his name is Michelle Morone. Or Michelle Morone. But I think he would work.
Cool.
Next.
Okay, we're moving on.
Eclipse.
We're into the third movie. Yeah.
Eclipse, baby. Okay, first up, Seth Clearwater, who is originally played by dear old sweet Boo Boo Stewart.
Yep.
And so I actually, again, I'm going to say my Leah first, because I picked my Leah, and that's how I picked my Seth. So my
Yeah.
Leah, and also Leah was played by Julia Jones, and Julia Jones, fantastic, beautiful person. Anyways, I picked Devery Jacobs, who was in The Order.
Okay.
She's quite popular in a lot of teen shows on Netflix and things.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked her, and then I was like, oh, do you know who kind of has the same face shape as her? Cody Lightning, who was in Smoke Signals. I didn't mean to, but like
Obsessive.
we talked about that. No, see, the thing is, we talked about that movie in a 4-hour class.
Yeah, no, I know.
So we,
4-hour
it's
classes.
Like, But yeah, those are my
Okay,
Seth and Leah.
so I didn't have a Seth. I really struggled with the Native American actors. Indigenous, I'm not sure what we're supposed to be saying nowadays. Is it Indigenous? Is that where I'm?
Or Native.
I'm working on it, I promise. Okay, so Leah, like I said earlier, I went with Jessica Matten. But I didn't have a Seth. And I also don't have a Sue. My apologies.
I do have a Sue.
Who do you have?
I have Tamara Podemski.
Okay.
Yeah. I know her because I've seen interviews of her talking about like SAG things related to lack of diversity.
Gotcha.
I haven't seen her act in anything, but I've seen that video many times.
Yeah. Okay, next on our list is Riley.
And wait, Sue was originally played by Alex Rice, just so we know. Cool.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Riley's next, and Riley was originally played by...
His name's Xavier Samuels, I believe. Xavier Samuel?
Okay.
Let me switch pages so I can look. Xavier Samuel.
Gotcha. Okay, I chose Matthew Lawrence when he was younger.
Interesting.
You know, like the Lawrence brothers?
I do. I for a second, my first thought when I hear Lawrence, I go Joey, so I had to switch to Matthew.
Yeah.
Yes, Matthew.
I thought he'd be cute.
Yeah. I thought either or honestly would work really well, but I was either thinking Sam Claflin.
Okay.
Or Alexander Calvert from Supernatural. He played Jack.
Okay, you know how we spoke earlier for 3.5 minutes about how I love Doctor Who? That is Milan's Supernatural. So
yes.
Next we have Bree Tanner, played by...
Bree Tanner was played by Jodelle Ferland.
Okay.
And she was supposed to be like 13, but she looked older, so I cast her older.
Okay. I went with Jenna Ortega.
Ew. I thought about that.
Who'd you
and
go
then
with?
I changed my mind.
Yeah.
Auli'i Carvalho from She Was Moana.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see that.
And around the age she was when Moana came out, which was how many years ago? 5, 6?
I don't know. Okay, next we have Taha Aki, played by...
And he was Byron Chief Moon.
Okay, and you picked...
I picked Dwayne Howard from The Revenant.
Yeah. I didn't pick anybody. Again, like,
Cool.
this is going to be a trend. You're going to notice a lot of the native actors, I had a really difficult time. Like, I really didn't want to just pick someone based on looks. That was one of my biggest, like, I don't want to just pick somebody when I can't even place their acting abilities or, like, anything about them. So.
That's fair.
It's a struggle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next person...
Kind of how I did it too.
I know. So the next person's the third wife. Played by, originally.
Mariel Bellinger.
Okay.
And I used Irene Bedard.
Bedard. I know.
Yes.
Did you use her? I picked her for something else. Yeah.
Okay. No. Next up is the cold one.
The man, right?
Yes, the man cold one, who was played by Peter Murphy.
Okay.
I chose Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know. It kind of gives me the same vibes.
I chose Henry Cavill. I know you're not going to agree with me. That's fine. You don't have to agree with me.
I think it was just and it's not even because he's my Emmett. I think he's just too young.
I was thinking him a little bit older. Like, he's not terribly young anymore. I also looked at the book description, and he wasn't supposed to be terribly old. That's just how they casted him. So,
yeah, no. But I kind of liked the fact that the cold one would have been like 40-ish. So I was like, Mads Mikkelsen.
Okay. Well, the next person is the cold one, the woman, who was originally played by...
Monique Ganderton.
Okay. And I chose a very young Meryl Streep.
That's smart. Yeah, that's really smart.
It's a vibe, and she's supposed to be blonde in the book. So
yeah. I decided to not make her blonde because
everyone's blonde.
Truly everyone is blonde, and I started running
blonde.
out of like blonde people that I wanted to use. Also, the person that I picked is naturally blonde, so if we wanted to choose, so we could. But so her name's Katya Winter, and she played. She was in Sleepy Hollow, which the TV show.
Yeah,
I love
know
that show.
Okay, so the next person on our list is Bryce King, who was Rosalie's human fiance, who was a terrible person.
Yes, who was played by Jack Houston, and he is also supposed to be blonde hair, blue eye, and it's just so many of them. The person I picked could be blonde because he's been blonde before, but...
Okay, so who'd you go with?
Cillian Murphy.
Huh. That's a good choice.
Thank you.
I don't know why I didn't think of that. I went with Alex Pettyfer.
I thought about him too, actually. That's funny.
Because he's supposed to be, like, charming and, like, just perfect, and then all of a sudden he turns murderous. Like...
Yeah.
So I thought he would... Especially with the time period
and
it was supposed to be, I thought he could
like
probably...
Too.
Yeah, he has. So I thought he'd be a good choice. Okay. So the next person we have is Maria, and Maria is supposed to be the person who turns Jasper.
Yes.
Turns Jasper, and a bunch of other people too, and she is supposed to be part of, like, the Texas clan.
She is the head of the Mexican
clan,
coven.
technically. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it happens in Texas, so.
Yeah, she was played by Catalina Sandino Moreno. And I picked a 1990-something-ish Selma Hayek.
Okay.
I watched a movie that she was in called Fools Rush In, and I was like, yeah, that age her would work real well.
Called Fools Rush In.
Yeah, it has Matthew Perry in it. It was interesting.
So I picked Andrea Londo.
I don't know who that is.
This person.
I do know who that is.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I thought she's actually a Narcos, but I thought she's really pretty. So I was like, yeah,
she is very pretty.
Maria.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next person on the list is Lucy, who's like one of Maria's like little friends.
Yeah, she's the one who kind of like is gung ho for everything that Maria does.
Yeah, and she was the one who's blonde.
Yeah, she was the blonde one, and she's also described as like having like one of those like chimey voices, like a bubbly, whatever. And small and Snow Whitey also. I don't know why Bella kept using that. Anyways, but I picked Dove Cameron.
Who was? Oh, I was gonna ask you who played it originally.
She was originally played by Kirsten Prout, or Kirsten.
Okay.
Her is Kirsten Prout.
And you picked Dove Cameron. I don't know why I didn't think about Dove Cameron.
I love Dove Cameron.
Okay,
That's why
I picked Dove Cameron. I picked a little bit younger Anna Sophia Robb.
Ooh, I have her for something else.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nettie is the third and final of that little grouping.
And Nettie is like she kind of sucks. She was like, I don't want to take part in this. You guys are dumb. So I don't know why she was there, but.
And it was kind of complicated in the movie. She almost looked like she was supposed to be Hispanic, but like she wasn't.
Well,
like, the way they cast her, it was a little ambiguous as to like what.
Yeah, she has some ambiguous features, as in because they made everyone as pale as possible, so they're all the same skin color. And then if they have the same hair color, same face shape, then you don't know. I get you. I didn't think that, but I get you. She was played by Leah Gibson.
Yep.
And I picked Kaya Scoldario, who played Effie in Skins.
Okay.
She was also in Maze Runner. I don't remember her name in Maze Runner anymore, but...
Okay, I picked a younger Mila Kunis.
Interesting. I picked her for something else, too.
I don't know. I liked her against Anna Sophia and Andrea Londo. I thought that would be a nice little like roundabout. And she also looks a little bit more ambiguous, like their original casting choice.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Next, Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Oh my god.
We're getting through it. We're getting all the way through it. Okay. So, Breaking Dawn Part 1. We have the Denali clan first up. So, we're starting off with Kate. She was played by Cassie LeBeau, and I picked Mila Jovovich.
Okay. I went with...
A little younger, obviously. Not as young
Yeah.
as we had her cast the week before, but like
No.
20s.
Yeah. So I went with Candace King.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So that's where I went. Okay, so...
Casting vampires as other vampires.
Yes. I'm real big on that. Okay, so Tanya's supposed to be a little bit older.
Yeah, Tanya
They, like, said she was, like, a
the one
woman.
that's identifiable as a woman.
Yeah.
And she was played by Mayanna Burning. And I think Tanya's also the one who's supposed to be, like, their creator, who's in the next one. She's the niece, or the great niece of the creator, so, like, actually related to her. Anyways.
Yeah.
I chose Mila Kunis.
I chose Nicole Kidman.
Cool.
Okay, so Irina is the next one. She was originally played by
Maggie Grace.
Cute.
And Maggie Grace was very tall, and Irina was supposed to be, like, the shortest one, I believe.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, she's supposed to be, like, the one that watches her mother get killed and, like, doesn't have any emotions about it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so I went with Cara Delevingne. Yeah.
Interesting.
I thought she could play someone who's a little bit more callous, like someone who's a little bit more calculating. That's kind of how they described her, as more calculating than the others.
Yeah, she probably could. Yeah. I picked somebody that I mention a lot because I like the show she's in. Thaisa Farmiga.
Okay. No, I like her.
I love her. And I think she would play a good Irina.
Yeah.
Next, Carmen, who was originally played by Mia Maestro. And she's supposed to be Spanish. Who did you choose?
One moment. I have to look her up because I won't be able to tell you what she's from because I forgot already. Okay. So I chose... I'm going to pronounce her last name 100% wrong.
Okay.
It's Alice... Gracian? I can't
Do you want to show me and see if I can?
That girl.
Oh, I've seen her. What is she from? I can't see the name, so I couldn't tell you. But what is she in? Because I've seen her before.
Oh, her name is right there. I can't pronounce anything well.
Gressizian. That's
Yeah.
my best guess. What is she in?
So-
Because she actually looks familiar. She has to be in it some...
She's been in a bunch of
show.
stuff. She was in Sex Drive in 2008, Shrooms in 2007, Exit Speed in 2008, The Lying Game, 2011, 2013.
That one. She's the main girl, isn't she?
I think so. She also was in the 2005 reboot of The Dukes of Hazzard, which is why I recognized her. And also she was in Lincoln Heights for a while, which I also watched.
Oh, I did watch that too, passively. It was on television.
Yeah,
and
no. It wasn't like actively watching, but yeah.
Cool. Mine is Una Chaplin.
Okay.
Who's in Game of Thrones, if anybody doesn't know who she is. She's also a chaplain, so.
Yeah.
Next is Eliezer. I don't know how's his name actually said?
I have no idea.
Okay. I picked a young, and I mean like 20-something, right? Like, because he's supposed to be like 20. Antonio Banderas. For anybody watching on YouTube, welcome to the next 7 minutes of Emily Out of Sync. And she cannot lip read, even for herself.
Oh. I'm going to do another mispronunciation. Watch me do it. Adrian Grenier? He was in that TV show about the Hollywood shit. I don't remember the name of the show.
About the Hollywood shit? There's so many things. You mean the show on Netflix, Hollywood?
No. No. It's, wow, I'm struggling. Wow. Entourage. Oh, and he's the boyfriend in The Devil Wears Prada.
I know who you're talking about. I love him. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I love him. I was like...
I can't believe I forgot what he was in.
Okay, next movie. Breaking down part 2. Okay, so there's literally a cast of Renesmee for every 2 years, and they literally just show her in a montage growing taller. We were not doing that. So we did a kid Renesmee, like the one that exists always, and then a teen one that, you see hugging Jacob in Alice's vision.
So I actually didn't pick someone for the kid. It was really difficult.
Okay, so she was played by Mackenzie Foy. So I did the teen first because it's easier to cast a teen than a child. I don't know kid actors. So I picked my teen Renesmee. Kiernan Shipka is who I picked.
Oh my gosh, you're never gonna guess who I picked.
Saoirse?
No, McKenna Grace, who plays young Kiernan Shipka in other shows.
That's who I picked for my kid Renesmee.
Really?
Yeah. McKenna's a teenager now, but I'm thinking McKenna Grace as a kid. Oh, and by the way, I should say that Renesmee was played by two different people. Mackenzie Foy played the kid Renesmee, and the teen Renesmee was played by Christy Burke, or like the oldest one. But yes, so Sasha, the creator of the Denali clan.
Sasha.
She was originally played by Andrea Powell. And I picked, and this depends because it doesn't specify whether she was described to look like a woman or if she was supposed to look young like the other girls. It never said.
I thought she was supposed to look like a woman, so I went with a woman.
I said either, I picked the same person, I just said two different time periods. So I'll tell you the time periods. I picked Angelina Jolie.
Okay.
And I picked either a Maleficent Angelina Jolie time period, right? Or a Tomb Raider time period, because then she was about 20-ish. So.
Okay. I went with Faye Dunaway.
Interesting.
A younger Faye Dunaway.
That. Okay. Garrett, which Lee Pace played a good Garrett.
So who did you pick?
I picked Robert Shahan, who's in the Umbrella Academy. He plays Klaus.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first thought was Simon Baker.
I don't know who that is.
So Simon Baker was in The Mentalist and National Treasure.
And her second thought was Hayden Christensen. Cool. Next. So next we're moving on to the Egyptian coven, and we're doing Amun first, and he was originally played by Omar Metwali. And okay, let me just preface this by saying I tried to cast all Egyptian people. The Twilight casting did not cast all Egyptian people. Tia was played by an Armenian actress. But because of that, I gave myself one leeway. Because I just thought he would be a good Amun. He's Persian. It's Pej Vedat. He is Aristu Vasiri in Bones. Yes.
I didn't actually use a pass. My cast is all Egyptian. But I went with Ahmed Ez.
Yes.
Okay, so the next person that we have is Kepi.
Kepi was originally played by
paper shuffling.
Andrea Gabriel. And I picked, do you want to say yours or you want me to say mine?
No, you go first.
I picked Yasmin El-Masri, and she's from Quantico. She plays the twins in Quantico.
I chose Mona Zaki. So a lot of the Egyptian actors that I chose haven't been in a ton of American stuff. So I'm going to struggle referencing these, but we'll pop up the pictures on YouTube if you want to head over there. And okay, so next we have Benjamin. And we went with the same person because she admitted who she was using, and I was like...
And also, I admitted who I was using in the most dorky way ever. Mina Masood.
Only she said it like this. She said, I chose...
a guy who could show you a whole new world. Tia, who was played by Angela Serafian.
Which was the person that's not Egyptian
she was the Armenian
in the movie.
Woman, yeah.
I want to know who you went with.
I went with Nadine Risk, and I personally didn't know her from things, but she was very pretty, so I used her.
I went with Basma Hassan.
Okay, what was she in?
I couldn't really tell you.
Cool. I feel you. Anyways.
Moving on. So Senna is the next person on our list.
Senna is the first Amazonian one. It was originally played by Tracy Higgins. And I chose Kylie Bunbury. Okay,
I chose Lee Rodriguez.
Yeah.
She's drop dead gorgeous.
She's also in a show that I've talked about for Emily to watch, and she still hasn't watched it.
Yeah, I haven't watched it.
That show is Never Have I Ever, just so you know.
Okay. It's on my list.
And then we have Zafrina. So Zafrina was played by Judith Ciccone. And I chose Ella Balinska, who was in Charlie's Angels.
Okay. I chose Zoe Saldana.
Yeah, that works too.
I think it's
She's short though.
I know, but
I checked her height.
I was talking to Milan about this. I was like, look, I think we should just pick somebody at that point, and, you know, special effects can do some work. It's not like they can't make people look bigger. Like, this can be achieved
when
now.
People do that. But anyways, so the reason why Emily keeps
Dreamcast.
she told me this, and she did whatever. I had already finished my casting because I had spent multiple days on it. Emily did not.
I spent like a day and a half, maybe.
Yeah. Next.
Okay, so the next one is Vladimir.
Vladimir was originally played by Noel Fisher. Mm-hmm. And who'd you choose?
I also pronounced this last name terribly wrong. He is Matt from Gilmore Girls.
Emily's tried to get me to watch Gilmore Girls for a long time, and I did try recently. I couldn't do it. So when she said that, when she said, what's his name? He played Logan? Yeah. I didn't know who she was talking about.
That guy.
Next.
He kind of always plays that character, though, and I thought that character was kind of like Vladimir's character, so.
So you remember how I said that I used siblings?
Oh my god, what'd you do?
Did he play a vampire already? Yes. Did he play a vampire with blonde hair already? Yes. I picked Alexander Skarsgård. And you want to know why? Because I love his character
for
in
Stefan?
True Blood.
Or for Vladimir?
No, for Vladimir.
We're still talking about Vladimir. You picked him. Okay, I actually used him later on for somebody else.
Okay, well, Alexander Skarsgård as Vladimir. Anyways.
Okay, so Stefan was originally played by?
Wow, there's so many names on this list. Where is Stefan's name on this list? Okay, he's played by Guri Weinberg.
Okay.
And I cast... Okay, hear me out. Stefan and Vladimir are supposed to be the oldest vampires of all time, and they're from Dracula. So I chose Bela Lugosi.
Yeah, no, after she said that, she told me she was using him. I knew who she was going to use him for. Because she was like, could we use someone who's, like, that long dead? And I'm like, it's a Dreamcast. Of course we can. I actually couldn't pick anybody after that because I didn't think anybody I picked could measure up to who she chose.
Bela Lugosi.
So I just didn't pick anybody. I was like, nah, I'm just going to leave it.
Bela Lugosi.
Okay, next person, Alistair, who was originally played by...
He was originally played by... Fuck. And you know, this list is very long. Okay,
I know.
Joe Anderson.
Okay. So, I cast Alexander Skarsgård as Alistair.
Damn it. Yeah, of course you did.
Of course I did. I thought it was a great choice.
Do you want to know who I chose?
Yeah.
Colin O'Donoghue, a.k.a. Captain Hook.
So Charlotte is next. She was originally played by...
Valerie Curry.
So, and I chose a young Kristen Bell. Okay, who'd you pick?
I picked Anna Sophia Robb.
Ah, I had her earlier, yeah.
And I looked her up, and there was actually a picture of her with a pixie cut, and I was like, bro.
Yeah, she did at 1.5 one. She would have been a good Charlotte. I don't know why I didn't think about her for that. I think it's because I thought of her for the other role.
Yeah, and then we have her mate, who is Peter.
Yes, and I don't have anybody for Peter.
Peter was played by Eric Odom, and I picked Diego Boneta. Do you know who Diego Boneta is?
I think so.
Yes, you do. Next, Toshiro.
I did not cast him. You're going to notice a trend here. I didn't cast some of these vampires. They got a little overwhelming at some point, because you think about how many vampires are in the last movie, and you, like, barely see them in the movies, and I was like...
And there's ones that we still didn't even do, because there's a whole bunch of Volturi, like, witnesses that I didn't do. But, so he is played by Masami Kosaka. I chose Hiroyuki Sanada, and he is in Marvel things. Lots of Marvel things. He's in one of the Wolverine ones that's newer.
So next on my list is Liam.
And he was originally played by Patrick Brennan.
Yeah, he is part of the Irish. It's Coven. I keep saying clan.
Yeah, you do.
I don't know
the clan. The clan is the family name. The Coven is the group. I picked Michael.
You chose.
I picked Michael Fassbender.
Okay. Yeah. No. I think we talked about this earlier. Actually.
Yeah, and you
there was
said
just a couple we talked about ahead of time.
You said you picked a dad, and I said I didn't.
Not necessarily a dad, but someone who, like, if you look at the way he's supposed to be like Carlisle's friend, and he's supposed to be a little bit older. I think in the description it said something like he's supposed to be in his 30s and be more of like a full man. Like, he's supposed to just, like, be kind of like... And I was like, Liam Neeson. I also tried to pick people who actually had some Irish, like, ancestry. Because they're supposed to be Irish. Yeah, so, like, Liam Neeson also. And then I had a good laugh about it. And I said, do you think Stephanie Meyer chose him on purpose? Because He also has the name Liam. He's also about the same height, and he's also Irish. It was a joke, but Milan didn't think it was funny, so.
No, I didn't. And when I think about him, all I think about is Taken.
That's fair.
Okay, and so next? The next one up, Emily, what's her name?
No.
Huh?
No.
What's her name?
You say it. No, you say it. No, you say it.
How do you say her name, Emily?
No.
Siobhan? Is that how you say her name? Huh? Her name is Siobhan.
Her name. Thank you. Again, pronunciation's not my best. It's not my strongest suit.
But then she knows how to say Saoirse, but she can't say.
Damn straight, I know how to say Saoirse.
Siobhan. Anyways, she's played by Lisa Howard. I picked Katie McGrath.
Okay, I chose Christina Hendricks.
Interesting.
Okay. Irish, red hair.
Okay, next up, the last of the Irish Coven is Maggie. And Maggie was originally played by, I think it's Marlene Barnes. Yes. And I chose Ivana Lynch.
Oh, I thought about her for a minute.
AKA
really
my
did.
Ravenclaw queen.
Vibes. I went a little cliche. I feel like people probably could see this coming, especially when we talked about her name so many times already. But I chose like a younger Saoirse with red hair. Obviously, I'd want her to have red hair because the curly red ringlets was like
she had red hair in Mary Queen of Scots. I think she was younger then too. She was probably a teenager then still.
Mary Queen of Scots actually came out a couple years ago, so she might have been still relatively young. But yeah, I was thinking like
2017-ish. Yeah.
I was thinking like 16, 17-year-old Saoirse with like some curly red hair.
Yeah.
Okay, so next on the list is Jay Jenks, who I didn't actually pick. I didn't know where to go with that one.
Yeah, so he was originally played by Wendell Pierce, and the way that he's described in the book is supposed to be like the super nervousy, like kind of.
Yeah.
And the actor did not play him that way in the movie at all. He seemed kind of like menacing and kind of intense in the movies.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I struggled so much, because he is in such a small amount of the story.
Yeah.
And they played him two very different ways.
Yeah, I kind of liked...
to, like... Sorry, go ahead.
With the things that he does, I feel like the way that he was played in the movie makes more sense for a character like that. So I kind of kept him like that, except for I made him even coolier, because... I picked Don Cheadle.
Okay. I thought about him. I did. Okay.
Anyway.
The next one is Nahul. Am I saying that right? Nahul.
I believe. No. Yes.
I'm trying. I don't know.
He was originally played by J.D. Pardo.
Okay, so I chose a young Rodney A. Grant, who was one of the leads in Dances with Wolves.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah.
I know who he is. Yeah. Okay.
And you chose?
Again, I chose my Huilen first because they're related, and I already had a Huilen because I've also thought of her being as Leah. And she was originally played by Marissa Quintanilla, and I chose Koryanka Kilcher as Huilen. And
I actually chose Irene Bedard.
Fair.
Yeah. So who'd you choose for the other one, for the guy?
I super cheated, in my personal opinion, because I just used Koryanka's brother.
Oh my gosh.
And his name is Kainoa Kilcher. But he's also an actor, so it works. So Randall was played by Bill Tangradi, and I believe he was actually supposed to be from California, which made me laugh. I was like, okay. I chose Jake Abel.
I didn't choose a Randall or a Mary. Those are the two people we have left. I didn't choose one of either because honestly I ran out of time. Like, that's my reason for those two. I just didn't. Fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so who do you have for a Mary? Mary was
played by Tony Trucks, and I chose Yara Shahidi.
Okay.
Gotta say, this was a good podcast. The Twilight thing was aggressively long.
It was.
But anyways, thank you for listening to our podcast. And one thing that's super important is like and share the podcasts on whatever streaming platform you're listening to it on. Give us a 5-star if you're so inclined. Maybe leave a comment. Say something that you'd be interested in hearing. Because we have plenty more. Some weeks will be serious. Some weeks will not be. Like this week. Super simple, super fun.
Yeah. More reminiscent this week.
just because a lot of it was about Twilight, which kind of tied into our high school, college conversation. What was homecoming like for you? What was back to school like for you in high school and in college?
Yeah.
Also, who would you cast for Edward, Jacob, and Bella?
That's a fair question. Or if you have a specific, like, you feel like me, like, there was one character, you were like, I know exactly who I'd cast for that one character, even if it's, like, some random smaller character. We'd be interested to hear. Yeah. That's it. Okay.
But have a nice week, and tune in next week.
Bye. Bye.